Why do they want to defund the police? I know it's terrible, but it brings up a couple of issues here. A perfect storm of things that are going on that kind of mix politics with policing, this social movement or social economic, I don't know what you would call this, defund the police movement. Reactive? Maybe, I don't know. So what's going on?
My take is this. So you have three things that are going on right now as we speak. You have the Defund the Police, which has been around for a while, and it really got its notoriety in the last year and a half.
Which is kind of a squishy issue.
Which I personally agree with reallocating funds in law enforcement and moving it more toward community policing and helping out people in the community and helping out kids and doing after school programs and drug awareness programs and social impact programs. So I kind of believe in the defund the police concept to a little degree. But I think what happened with that is cops took it literally. They took it to the point where people don't respect us. Our own leadership doesn't respect us because they're not fighting for us. Politicians don't respect us. So therefore, cops started to retire. I retired, not necessarily based on that, but I retired because I did 32 years and I looked at that movement and I said, I'm not standing around. I'm not going to hang around and see how that turns out. So I left, and so did maybe 10, 15% of many departments. So you have that dynamic. Yep. And now you have, which
I will say this, by the way, defund the police. I always thought global warming was a terrible title. It was a terrible title. I understand it was based on scientific principles, blah, blah, blah. Climate change, I like climate change better because you talk about global warming and it's a big problem and blah, blah, blah. And then every time we have a nice day, you got to listen to people, oh, yeah, global warming, yeah, it's terrible. I'm getting a suntan. and I think that defund the police is the same thing. It's like you didn't have to say defund the police. Maybe defund the police is catchy for people on the left, but I think it's not a really accurate description of what's going on.
Absolutely
and I think
not.
It's also it brings up a lot of emotion on both sides that we don't need.
And a lot of cops became demoralized by that.
And a lot of cops, you know, I almost wonder. I see some of these beefs that people that the leadership seems to have with the unions, and I understand unions. I understand the game between unions and management, but it just seems like it's just the words they're using. If they get away from these words and they just put it in a different perspective and said we're going to move back to more community policing, we're going to reallocate the resources. Maybe
cops will buy into that because cops like community policing. Cops liked to be liked.
Yeah.
They like to fit into the community.
Yeah. Why wouldn't you? I mean, I understand. Why wouldn't you? The answer is because they're cops. Yeah. Some of them don't seem to like to be liked. They don't have the best people skills as we've decided. But this is
so you have that.
Yep.
And then you have
the police
mandatory COVID shots, which the unions right now in Chicago is kind of leading the pack as Chicago is going to go, meaning the Chicago Patrolmen's Union is saying this. We are not getting shots. You are not telling us to get shots. And if you do tell us, and if you make us, we'll either retire, we'll resign, we won't show up for work. So now you have the Chicago police leadership, the politicians, because any leadership in a police department, whether it be the chief or any other position like that, the superintendent, they're political appointees. So they're not always going to support their men and women of the department. So the union is saying, we're not doing it. And the leadership just came out in Chicago and said, guess what? If you think you're going to retire over this issue, we're going to pull your retirement benefits.
Wow.
That just came out yesterday. The superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, or one of them, made that statement. Then you got Laurie Lightfoot, and she's drawing a hard line also, and the cops have no respect for her. So whatever she says, they're going to go the opposite. And then all this is coming in for the perfect storm because I think, in my opinion, that certain elements in the country right now want cops to go off the job. They want them to leave because if the cops that are giving them resistance, the cops that are not getting the shots, are not, towing the line, get them out of there, and let's put our own people in. They can manipulate law enforcement. Now they can control how law enforcement thinks. And we're going to get into the politics of it a few minutes from now, when we talk about some of the court issues that have happened or across the country with a female in a hospital who got arrested for not leaving her daughter's side.
Hold on.
I'm going a little bit forward, but yeah,
before we talk about this politics, let me ask you this. Why don't the cops in Chicago want to get vaccinated? What's the reason? Because they all watch Fox News? Is that the reason?
I think because one of the points that the administration has said, hey, you're a cop, you have interactions with people every day, you should be more concerned that you're going to get someone sick. But in Chicago, that doesn't fly. People in Chicago are more likely to get shot than they are going to get COVID.
COVID, is that, you have statistics on that?
Not really.
Well, but here's the thing. Why don't the cops? I'm not saying I understand why they would want cops to be vaccinated, because you're going to, from the monetary side, we'll start with that. They don't want the cops to get sick. They don't want the cops to die or to get really sick, or to be on a ventilator for 5 weeks and be out. From a human standpoint, they don't want any of those things to happen either. And from the standpoint of spreading the COVID-19, they don't want that to happen either. And even though you can spread it when you've been vaccinated, you don't suffer the effects as badly, and you don't carry it for as long. So for those two reasons, it makes sense to be vaccinated. It's science. It's something that for years we wouldn't, pre-2016, nobody would question the experts on this. And now we've got all this concern about the vaccine. And here are these cops who you would assume would be a bunch of fairly intelligent men and women. What's their issue with getting the vaccine?
I think cops are very simple in the sense that if you support them, their job, if you support what they do in the street, if you give them fair pay, and you know that the leadership is going to back them in certain situations, cops will run through walls for people like that.
Yep.
Especially their leaders, whether it be their chief or a politician of the city they work. But cops, especially in Chicago, they know that the city doesn't support them. They know that the mayor doesn't support them. They know that certain members of their leadership hierarchy don't support them. So when they come out with the statement, we just don't want you to get sick. We don't want you to infest anyone else. We want you to, be happy and healthy. They know you're full of shit. Cops are getting shot. They're getting their asses kicked in Chicago. 10, 15 murders a week in Chicago. Cops are getting beat up. All sorts of shit. So now you're concerned that we get the sniffles? They don't give a shit, and the cops know it. So the cops are like, don't give us that bullshit. We're not doing it, and you're telling us we're doing it? Now we're doubly not doing it, because you can't tell a cop. You can't go up to them and threaten them. You better do A, B, and C, or you're going to get fired. Cops are like, we ain't taking your shit. They're all type A individual, strong personalities. And when you confront them that way, you're going to get resistance 110%.
All right,
that's where it's at right now.
Let's start with number one. If I said to you, you should start your shift at, what time does the shift start?
7:30 in the morning.
You should start your shift at 7:30 in the morning. Are you going to say, no, I don't like you, I'm not going to start at 7:30, I'm going to start at 7:31? Is that what you're going to say?
No.
All right. How about just on your own? The vaccination. You've got the federal government is pushing the vaccination. The CDC is pushing the vaccination.
People they don't believe it.
Alex Jones doesn't believe it. Fox News actually does believe it because they require it.
I think most cops are supporters of Fox News.
Yeah, but here's the thing: Fox News within the organization, they're stressing vaccinations as much as a private company can. So why would the cops just not say?
Cops are they're a different breed. They're like people in the military. They're just very strong-willed.
Stubborn.
They think things out. They try to look at it logically.
Logically, here's the logic. The logic is if you get the vaccine, you're not going to get as sick.
Cops
you're not going to have it as long, and you're less likely to spread it to your family.
Cops don't care about getting sick. Cops get beat up. Cops get hepatitis from dealing with drug infested people on the street. Cops get shot. Cops get stabbed. Cops get berated when they're out with their family in restaurants. Do you think they care about COVID?
Yeah,
I don't think
they
do.
should care about COVID.
I think it's the least on their list.
Do they have parents?
Well,
do they have kids?
I think it's the least on their list.
Do they have wives? And,
they
and
do.
Husbands?
But they have wives and they still go out and can get their ass kicked.
But least, here's the thing, least on their list, all right? Least on their list.
Is COVID.
So there's COVID. So the idea of them spending 2 hours, 1 hour for the first shot and 1 hour for the second, there's no way they can do this because it's last on their list behind getting shot, getting beat
stabbed,
up,
getting beat up, getting berated,
like I
threatened.
I can't get this shot today because I've got to go be threatened. That's
I'm not. You know something, Dave?
Why don't you?
Inside the line, baby? I'm just trying to tell you
I know.
Inside how a lot of cops see this. And now the other part of me knows that a lot of times with cops, it's about money sometimes.
Oh, hold on. Before we get to money, because I want to get to this too. But here's the other part of this. You're talking about this and you're saying it's a paramilitary structure. Am I correct?
Yes.
So in the military, you're in the Marines, right?
Yes.
All right. So let's say the Marines, who's your direct report?
In
the Marines.
Staff sergeant or maybe a captain in the unit or something like that.
Okay. So the captain of the unit comes in and says, all right, I want you all to get the vaccination. Now, do you say no? How'd that go over? How would that go over?
That doesn't go over well. And they're having issues like that in the military right now.
Are they having issues?
Oh, in the military, yeah.
They were just telling people
in the military are being threatened with, if you don't get the vaccine, you're going to get discharged.
Yeah.
You might get something less than an honorable discharge.
Right.
If we put a lot of money into training you like you were a special forces type member and they put $1 million, you're going to have to pay that back. You might not get your college money that you signed up for. So, they're throwing a lot of threats out there to people in the military.
So they are getting resistance in the military.
Absolutely. Not a lot, because the military is a little bit different. All right. It's a little bit, you have much younger people in there who've been indoctrinated to the military way of life.
Yeah.
And you're going to get less resistance from people in the Marine Corps, maybe ages 18 to 22. Yeah. You're not going to get a lot of resistance from them.
Yeah.
But from Lieutenant Colonel in the Marine Corps, what was his? I forget his name, but the lieutenant colonel that had a court martial this week because he spoke out against the Afghanistan withdrawal fiasco.
Yep.
Guys like that who've been in for 15, 20, 25 years. Yeah, those guys will speak up.
There'll be a pushback.
Yeah,
in the military.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I don't think the military isn't going to collapse over this. Obviously, but I do think law enforcement, there could be issues. You could be seeing the National Guard in certain cities if certain police departments, such as Chicago, Baltimore.
Yep. So you're a cop in Chicago or Baltimore. You get shot. You're busting people, and then the judges and the courts are just letting them go.
Absolutely. Now you're demoralized.
You're getting beat up. You're getting whatever. All right, you're getting threatened. You don't get much respect. All this stuff. Why is this shot such a big deal? Why wouldn't you just get the shot?
Because I think it just goes to their morals that they're American citizens. They have the right in America to make their own decisions about their personal safety, their medical well-being, and if they choose not to, it's like the flu shot. I don't want to get the flu shot. I don't get the flu shot.
Okay.
I don't want to get the hepatitis shot. I don't get the hepatitis shot.
We're gonna get to the
Dave, you
shot
meet
then.
some floozy after a night of comedy,
I need a shot.
and you don't use a condom. You're going to be getting a penicillin shot a week later, Dave. It's your choice.
Right. You know what else I got? I got a I got a polio vaccine. Not a polo vaccine. I got a polo t-shirt shirt.
Yeah, you got a polo. It's a nice shirt.
But I got a polio vaccine. I got that. How about the cops? Did they get a polio vaccine? I don't think they should get the polio vaccine. Why should they get that? Why should they get the measles vaccine? I know. Now we're going to get into, so now let's get into money.
Money, yeah. I think from my experience and knowing what's going on in the Northeast, North Shore of Massachusetts, that many departments in this area are currently negotiating with leadership in their cities and towns. And part of that negotiation is they're being told that they have to get the shot. And the unions are saying, all right, we'll think about getting the shot. It's going to cost you $2,500 to $3,000 extra in our contract every year.
Yep.
So the cops and from being a cop, we've been presented with that through our union, and they would make statements.